Welcome to Introduction to Legal System in Zimbabwe. This is your host, Dr. Tulipo Mwenifumbo. And in this course, we are going to look at lesson 1. We are going to look at overview of legal system in Zimbabwe. Then we are going to look at sources of law in Zimbabwe. How did they come up with a law that is working in Zimbabwe? And we are going to look at court structures and jurisdiction in Zimbabwe. And lastly, we'll look at legal professions and ethics. That's where we are going to look at the players in the legal system in Zimbabwe. Welcome. And in lesson 1, we are going to start on introduction and overview. So in this overview, we are going to look at Zimbabwe's legal system in a hybrid of Roman Dutch law and common law. Then we will look at influence by British law and African customary law, and constitutional is the supreme law. So when we talk about the overview of legal system in Zimbabwe, we are talking about the influence of common law and Roman Dutch law in the legal system in Zimbabwe. And also the influence of Zimbabwean law has been influenced by British law and also African customary law. The supreme law for Zimbabwe is the constitution. So Zimbabwe legal system is a rich and complex history that has shaped the country's current legal framework. Understanding the historical background, constitutional framework, and principles of law, rule of law, and separation of power is essential to grasping the fundamentals of Zimbabwean legal system. Let's look at the historical background of legal system in Zimbabwe. So we have got what is called pre-colonial era, where we were using customary law. So before the colonial came in, or the whites came in Zimbabwe, the people of Zimbabwe were using the law which is called customary law. And in this customary law, there were traditional practices and which governed indigenous communities in different tribes. Then between 1890 to 1990, this is the time where Zimbabwe was colonialized, and we have got what is called colonial era. In this era, Roman Dutch law was used by British colonial authorities. So the law that started applying in Zimbabwe was the British, which was the Roman law, which was combined with British law or English legal system. Then we have got the post-independent era, which is from 1980 to present. Zimbabwe has developed its own legal system, blending Roman Dutch law with African customary law and common law influences. Let's look at the constitutional framework. In Zimbabwean law, the supreme law, or which governs all the laws, is called the constitutional. So the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which was amended in Act number 20 of 2013, is the supreme law of the land. The Constitution outlines the fundamental rights and freedoms of citizens, which includes right to life, right to equality and non-discrimination, right to freedom of expression, and right to fair trial. The Constitution also establishes the structures and powers of three branches of governance, which is the executive, that is the president and his cabinet or its cabinet. Then we have got the legislature, which is the parliament, and we have got the judiciary, which is the courts, led by Chief Justice. So when we talk about the executive, we are talking about the head of the executive, it is the president. Then the head of the legislature, it is the chief justice, and the head of the head of the legislature is the speaker of the National Assembly, and we have got the judiciary, which is headed by the chief justice. The In Zimbabwe, there is what is called rule of law. So the governance and the whole structure of Zimbabwe is governed by what is called rule of law. So the rule of law is a fundamental principle of Zimbabwe's legal system. The construction, the construction of the constitution ensures that the government and citizens are subject to the law. So not only the construction of the constitution, but all the law work ensures that the government and citizens are subject to the law. So that is how the legal system in Zimbabwe is intended and is structured. The law is applied equally and impartially. So that is the purpose of the law, and the constitution announces that and pronounces that loudly. Then the law protects individuals' rights and freedom. Let's look at what is called separation of powers. So the legal system in Zimbabwe gives the separation of power, which start with the separation of the powers is a constitution principle that ensures each branch of government. We talked about the branch of government, which is the executive, the legislature, and also the judicial. So each branch of government has distinct powers and responsibilities. No single branch of government has too much power. So basically these branches, like the head of the government or the head of the executive is the president, then the head of the legislatures is the speaker of the National Assembly, and the head of the judiciary, it is the chief justice. Now this is meant that no power or no branch overrides the other. They are at the same level. Although the president looks to be more powerful, the reason why, because the president is elected and is the one who appoints these others. Otherwise, the president is not above the chief justice or is not above the speaker of the National Assembly. Checks and balances are in place to prevent abuse of power. So the abuse of power is prevented by the checks and balances, like the way it is. The parliament can be able to nullify the president, can be able to nullify the office of the president and call for elections. That is impeaching the president. Same as also the executive, which is headed by the president, can be able to dissolve the parliament and call for re-elections. And also the judicial, if there is an application made, they can be able to impeach the president and also the dissolve the parliament. So these three arms of government, they are equal, and they have balanced power. So the separation of powers promotes accountability, transparency, and good governance. So we are saying that the legal system in Zimbabwe is built on rich historical background, a robust constitutional framework, and the principles of rule of law and separation of powers. Understanding these fundamentals is essential for navigating the complexity of Zimbabwean legal system. I know many of you may ask that, no, but it's like there is no balanced legal system in Zimbabwe. No, the legal system is balanced. Now, where the challenge comes in, it is the application of law. And if you remember what we talked about in the introduction to um, to Pararigo, the law is sufficient, but what makes it to be insufficient is understanding the law and also the application of law. So if you don't understand how the law should be applied, you are going to face the challenges. Yes, there may be challenges when it comes to administration of the law from the people in authority, but the truth and the fact is that the you as the you can be able to apply the law in your favor. You can be able to apply the law, and the law always favors the citizenry. So that is the legal system. So the whole legal system is meant to protect the lives of people and also to give freedoms to the people such that they are able to stand and there is no injustice happening. So the law was brought in any given nation to protect the lives and also to be able to protect the properties of every person, and also to ensure that the government does not abuse their powers, and it stipulates how the country or the nation should be governed. Thank you so much. As I said, this is your host, Dr. Tulipo Mwenifumbo, and you can continue to join us. And we are going to look at lesson 2, where we are going to look at the sources of law in the legal system in Zimbabwe. Thank you so much, and God bless you.